Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan Qasim. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Absolutely. Hi, Dan. I'm Sondra Crawford, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm the CEO and partner of Texas Iberico. I also have an advisement company called Marker Tree Consulting, and that consults for smaller, mostly CPG producers.
Awesome. So in terms of your CPG brand, Texas Iberico, can you just tell me more about what that is and how you got the idea for it?
Sure. Well, there's lots of different stories that led into Texas Iberico being what it was today. And the company was really created out of a need because of a rancher in Texas. These Spanish Iberico pigs were flown over from Spain 10 years ago or so. And rancher Ashley Martin had partnered with some folks. Unfortunately, it didn't work out how he had planned. So he then partnered up with Tim Harris from La Tienda, and that was the creation of Texas Iberico. During that time, I was in specialty food distribution, and prior to that had been a buyer at Whole Foods Market and also did some brand development. So I met them shortly after and saw the potential, and I fell in love with the project immediately. I'm a born and raised Texan. Ashley is from the area that some of my family is from, and I've seen so many people struggle with agriculture, of course, all across the United States, but especially in Texas. So then was born Texas Iberico, and they were trying to sell one pork chop at a time to high-end restaurants. And I came back and said, you guys got to cure and make charcuterie, cured meats like chorizo, salami, copa, lomo. And that was when the idea started of let's make American artisan charcuterie. And do we want to be like Spain because it's an Iberico pig? And the answer, as we thought through it, was no, we're Texas and we're artisan. We're, of course, give a nod to Spain. So as the products developed, I thought, what's different? What's a need? We're on the hook literally for 100% of this animal so that we can support this rancher. And the thought behind the products, because with CPG brands, it's great that charcuterie and dry cured meats are trending, but what sets us apart? So our lomo, which is the back loin of the animal, I said, let's cure that or brine it with prickly pear cactus, which the pigs actually eat. And then on our copa, let's use some chili piquin, which is a native pepper to Texas. And so all of our products have a nod to Texas, which really set us apart as we hit the market. And of course, targeting then the right retailer that could represent our product in the best way. And that's so important to brands is as you go out there and as you start to search for a retailer, what's the right fit for you, and especially as you start out. So that's where the company really started. And over time, it's, of course, starting to pivot into a whole pig company because we really believe in getting behind regenerative agriculture, sustainability, supporting the rancher, and of course, food waste that we are really focused on as we head into the future of the brand and bringing people what they want, which is cool products.
Right, exactly. So I guess like in terms of right now, right? I mean, it's most of your business in retail or e-commerce. Like, where are you getting most of your customers today?
Sure. Retail. It made the most sense for the brand and has continued to. E-commerce is a channel that we definitely have put on some of our goals in the next year or so, but retail for us right now has been the focus. It had to be to execute and get the revenue flowing for the brand in order to, again, go back and be able to support this product that we are very, very committed to.
So in terms of retail, are you only selling it here in the state of Texas, or is it all across the country? Where can people actually find your product?
Sure. So in Texas is our focus right now. We do sell a little bit outside of Texas, but HEB and Central Market are our main customers right now. They've both been fantastic partners. We're now in over 200 HEB stores, and that's allowing us to then think, what's next with our growth? We did have placement with another large retailer that is a nationwide retailer, and we actually pulled back. It wasn't the right decision at the time. And I'm a big believer in, just because it's not a no forever, but it's just a not right now. So to answer your question, we're mostly in Texas right now, definitely about to go down into Mexico, which made sense for us, into the HEB stores in Mexico, and then pick some retailers outside of Texas as well.
That's awesome. So obviously being in retailers in general, being like a CPG brand can be very challenging. So how do you actually go about marketing your products and making sure that if somebody's walking down the grocery aisle, that they actually pick your product compared to your competition?
Well, our products catch your eye. We use, if you go into a retail environment, often things will start to look, they'll fall into the same look, the same feel. And so we wanted to have a point of difference that caught the consumer's eye. Also, I felt like color is a big miss sometimes in that specific specialty department. So we go with bright colors and bold names that are easy to read. So the consumer will catch chorizo and then lomo and copa, and then pick it up. Easy to read. We are really big on telling the story. So to me, packaging is so important, and looking at your packaging constantly and saying, is there room for improvement? Do we need to make some changes? What is everybody else doing? So that's where I feel like packaging for us has been a win, is the approach to the really colorful, making sure people can see the product, getting it at the right size so that it's at the right price point as well.
For sure. So obviously now that we're wrapping up Q1 of 2024, so for 2024 to be successful for you, like what are some of your big objectives for this year?
Our big objectives for 2024 are continuing to really preach the gospel of what this pig is, because that is part of our story. And some of the most education about products can be so challenging for any CPG brand. There's so many exciting things coming out to market, and education is a big focus of ours this year, coming out with a few new products, not flooding the market with 30 different items, but choosing 3 avenues for us to go down to with some new items that we want to get out there. But education about not only the animal, but why we're doing what we're doing is a big focus for us this year.
For sure. So in terms of education, like who would you say is an ideal customer for you? Who are you trying to educate and get in front of?
Well, we found that it really resonates with, of course, immediately the term foodie. People that love food, want to know where their food comes from, our cheesemongers and artisan specialty shops, and people that really get behind the whole charcuterie and cheese board movement. That's, of course, a big customer base of ours. But our brand and the approach is that we're for everybody. And often I'll say, just eat it out of the package. And so our other consumer that we found it's everybody from my parents who are in their 70s to actually tapping into the meat producer side of things, where I might go to a conference that's focused on ranching and raising pigs and raising cattle. And those are our customers. We speak to that brand because we have that true story behind it. So we're finding that a lot of small towns, communities that maybe people haven't ever had a chorizo or haven't ever really had an artisan cured meat, we do have quite a following there. And then of course our chefs, because we have fresh cuts available and they love our meat. And so anything from barbecue producers to high-end chefs, especially here in Austin, Texas. So we're really trying to speak to multiple avenues. But if I look at age demographics, it's typically between 30 to 45 is the bulk. And I was just looking yesterday on some of our just social media, and it falls almost straight down the middle of men and women, which I found interesting. And that's been pretty consistent.
For sure. So is that kind of like a channel for you, like selling, you could say B2B to restaurants or chefs locally in Austin?
It is. And it ties into the education, because we can educate, and whether it's to other ranchers and at conferences or to foodies, but having a chef get behind us and really be evangelists for the brand is very important. And it doesn't, our brand is something that, because our approach was, we don't need to be anybody else, we're ourselves. And so the chef for us that has that same approach is, I'm doing food how I want to do food, is really the chef that fits with us. So we find that extremely important, especially focused in the Texas market for now, and then beyond that.
For sure. So you also mentioned that I guess maybe like sometime next year that you want to explore more of the e-commerce channel. So what would that look like for you? Or what would you try to be, I guess you could say, accomplishing with e-commerce?
Sure. So currently we do some e-commerce with a third-party partner, and that's latienda.com. They do a great job for us. But wanting to accomplish getting the product to the consumer at the right price point still, and in the right condition. Often people, especially with a perishable product and with limited shelf life and limited really fulfillment sometimes of direct to consumer models that can ship perishable, that's a big approach. I think that if you can't do it right, then maybe pause on it. So our thought this year is, how can we really dial that in, start to do, whether it's gifts or pre-orders or trio packs that can be very special to the customer, maybe a club that they can join. But we think that e-commerce, again, it's just about going back and making sure that when we start focusing on that it's arriving to the doorstep with our whole brand is an experience. And so we don't want to miss out on continuing having the experience when it arrives to the customer's front door.
For sure. So now in 2024, many brands and companies are using AI in their business. So do you use AI currently? And if not, like where do you think the AI could come in and add value?
Sure. I think there's so much potential and it's here. So I think that's another piece of, especially speaking with whether it was marketing companies this year or artisans, fighting against what's already here isn't really going to be productive for us long term. We use AI only at times, and I use it if I'm stuck and creating something or writing something or trying to brainstorm. We're a small team that is remote, not always available. And to be able to just put something out there and have something come back to me that maybe I haven't thought of, I think it's a great tool to use that. It doesn't replace our voice though, because there is a human component behind everything we do. And we're not currently using it for any sort of chat bot or social media. everything right now is live for that. And so we're not utilizing AI a lot, but I could see a need in the future as our company grows.
That's awesome. So what would you say is like the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew before you started this company?
Um, the one piece of advice was that I'd like to give people is it's okay to say no. And no is a very powerful thing in business. Of course, not being open to a yes at some point is also very important, but the power of no and saying not right now is some great advice that I now follow and try and share with people. Also, stuff happens. You can plan and stuff happens, and be ready to pivot always in a small company and as an entrepreneur. And the advice is if that isn't exciting to you or healthy for you, then it's probably not for you, but always being able to be open to pivoting, looking, of course, having a plan, but knowing that you have the right people behind you to support that plan. I know you asked for one piece of advice, but three.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Yeah,
also having the right team and partners. And that really is also investors. And when you do have investors, making sure that just because that dollar amount seems like your biggest dream, or wow, we can't believe that we're about to get given all of that money, asking yourself, is it the right person? Is it the right company? Will they support the vision and growth that you have as an owner? And because if they don't, then often you're not successful. So that's the advice that I.
for sure. So if we're going to have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
My hope and where I see things going is the expansion of the whole pig model and being able to get more of that out there, looking at growth channels like research and going back to looking at the breed specifically, why it's so special, and continuing to say that, gosh, now we're using everything we can from this and maxing out our revenue and what that looks like beyond that. Is that herd expansion? Is that looking at additional herds? And or is it looking at a completely different approach? So for our company in the next year, it's just really focused on maximizing our potential growth through that whole animal concept.
So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social
Not at
media, I
all.
guess, best ways to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always go to our website. It's texasiberico.com. We're online on social media. We even do email, and you'll get a real response, like I said. So people can reach out to howdy@texasiberico.com. And we're happy to talk about just our journey as a company and really as a female CEO, even that is very much supported by a team of men and women, and how wonderful that has been on this journey.
Sondra, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reaching out, and good luck to you as well.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.